Welcome to The Deep Dive, your shortcut to understanding the fascinating stories and insights that shape our world. Today, we're diving into something that connects us all, the magic of film. You know, those flickering images, the powerful stories, the moments that make us laugh, cry, or think. We love them, we quote them, they're part of our shared cultural DNA. But here's a surprising thought for you. What if some of those most beloved stories, or maybe even crucial historical moments captured on film, were simply gone forever? Because the truth is, while we cherish films, their very existence is incredibly fragile. So our deep dive today explores the vital world of film preservation with a special focus on the National Film Registry, or NFR, of the Library of Congress. What exactly is it? Why was it created? And, how does it work to protect America's cinematic heritage for future generations?
Right. And our mission today is really to give you a concise understanding of this complex, often surprising effort. We'll unpack how films earn a spot on this prestigious list, the unique challenges involved in keeping them alive, and why safeguarding these pieces of our collective memory is so profoundly important for all of us.
And to guide us on this journey, we've pulled together, an incredible array of material. We've got everything from in-depth YouTube documentaries explaining the actual science of film decay to insightful blog posts celebrating cultural icons and specific explorations of animation's unique and sometimes overlooked place in the archives. So let's jump right in.
Okay, so to truly grasp why preservation is so critical, we have to start with a pretty stark reality. Did you know that an estimated 50%, half of all films ever made, are already lost to us?
It's shocking, isn't it?
And for the silent era, that figure skyrockets to an astonishing 90 to 95%. Just imagine that for a moment.
Yeah, 95%.
It's like losing ancient texts, but, from our own recent past. Entire visual histories simply vanished. It's an immense, almost unfathomable loss, and it happened for several compelling reasons. Initially, the standard film stock back in the late 1880s was nitrate film. Now, it provided good image quality, but it was catastrophically flammable. I mean, really dangerous.
How flammable are we talking?
This material could burn spontaneously, faster than gasoline-soaked rags, apparently. And water was useless against it. We saw horrific incidents like the 1937 Fox catalog fire in New Jersey, which just incinerated 40,000 cans of film.
40,000? Wow.
Yeah, including nearly the entire pre-1935 Fox library.
Huh.
It took the epic Cleopatra starring Theda Bara with it. Just gone.
Yeah.
And beyond the inherent danger, studio indifference played a really significant role. For decades, films were often viewed as mere product. Once their theatrical run was over, profits were made.
They were disposable.
Pretty much. Yeah. Studios would discard old reels for their silver content or simply throw them away. There's this chilling story from 1959. The company acquiring RKO Pictures explicitly ordered many films to be dumped into Santa Monica Bay.
Yeah.
There was even a handwritten note saying, simply dump them.
Dump them! That's awful!
Yeah. And even when not deliberately destroyed, poor storage was rampant. Imagine film reels in sweltering, non-air-conditioned concrete bunkers like those at MGM. Temperatures could soar past 125 degrees Fahrenheit in there.
Oh, my goodness.
And that heat initiated this devastating chemical breakdown. Nitric acid would leach out, creating corrosive gases. Eventually, you'd get these sticky, honey-like droplets oozing from the film rolls. They'd harden into a brittle crust. And finally, the entire reel would just crumble into a fine brown powder. That was often the end of a film story.
It's truly heartbreaking to think about such widespread loss. But the story of film preservation also has this kind of Indiana Jones element, right? Unexpected, thrilling discoveries.
Absolutely. There are some amazing stories.
Like Dawson City in the Yukon. Films were literally used as landfill there because it was just too expensive to ship them back. Decades later, during an excavation for a new rec center, these reels were unearthed from under an old skating rink.
Preserved by the permafrost.
Exactly. Perfectly preserved. And many of these finds, including rare works starring John Barrymore and Douglas Fairbanks, were copies thought to be entirely lost.
Incredible finds.
And then there's that discovery in Prague, maybe a decade ago. An archivist stumbled upon 8 rusty cans of nitrate film just tucked away in a corner.
Right, Her Wild Oat.
Yeah. Inside was the lost Colleen Moore film, Her Wild Oat, a charming proto-screwball comedy no other archive in the world was known to possess. It's ironic, isn't it? So many American films discarded here were actually saved overseas because other countries had different storage practices or maybe just valued them differently.
And that's precisely why these losses are so significant. We're not just losing old movies, we're losing vital parts of our collective history, our cultural narrative. and our understanding of who we are as a society. These films are trusted records of how people lived, worked, dreamed, how they saw their world. They offer unique windows into American history, reflecting the values, the conflicts, the aspirations of their times. They help us understand the past with, far greater nuance and empathy.
This overwhelming crisis, this potential loss, eventually led to America's decisive response. The National Film Registry. Established back in 1988 under the National Film Preservation Act, it's housed within the Library of Congress. And its mission is crystal clear: to protect and preserve films that are culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. It started picking films in '89 and has been working diligently ever since.
The selection process is, it's rigorous. It ensures only the most impactful films earn a place. Each year, up to 25 films are added. So the total is over 850 by 2022.
25 a year isn't that many when you think about it.
No, it's selective. And what's particularly democratic and vital, really, is that anyone, you, me, anyone, can nominate up to 50 films per year. The public plays a crucial role in bringing potential candidates to light.
That's interesting. So I could nominate something.
Absolutely. Up to 50 films. Then these nominations are reviewed by the National Film Preservation Board. That's a diverse group of film scholars, archivists, industry professionals. And then the final decision is made by the Librarian of Congress.
So what truly makes a film worthy of this honor? You mentioned it's not just a popularity contest.
Definitely not. Films are chosen based on cultural, historical, or aesthetic significance. Any one of those criteria is enough.
Okay, cultural, historical, or aesthetic.
And there's also a crucial age requirement. A film must be at least 10 years old since its theatrical release.
The 10-year rule. Why 10 years?
Well, that 10-year rule is basically designed to ensure hindsight rather than immediate popularity or hype. It allows a film's sort of legacy and influence to develop. It gives us time to gauge its true, lasting impact.
Right, so you avoid getting caught up in the moment.
Exactly. This means we won't see brand new blockbusters inducted immediately. It encourages thoughtful curation that isn't swayed by, fleeting trends.
It makes sense to let history weigh in, but I wonder, does that delay mean some maybe groundbreaking, immediately relevant films might miss their moment of greatest cultural impact for preservation purposes?
That's a valid point, and it's a constant balancing act, I think. The NFR prioritizes long-term significance over maybe fleeting relevance. They trust that a truly impactful film will stand the test of time, even if its initial moment passes. It's really about enduring legacy. Now, to your earlier point, let's maybe unpack what each of those significance categories really means.
Okay, let's start with cultural significance. What falls under that?
So when we talk about cultural significance, these are films that powerfully reflect or maybe influence society. They shape cultural movements or impact public discourse.
Okay, give me an example.
Think of The Social Network. It's not just a film about Facebook, right? It captured the zeitgeist of that nascent digital age. It showed us in real time how technology began reshaping human connection, identity. That's a cultural shift, crystallized on screen for future generations to understand.
Got it, like a snapshot of a cultural moment.
Exactly. Or think of To Kill a Mockingbird or The Color Purple for their profound societal reflections.
Okay, then there's historical significance.
Right. These films document important events, eras, or figures. They offer insights into filmmaking evolution or societal change. They act as an irreplaceable historical record. Schindler's List and 12 Years a Slave are powerful examples here. Even things like newsreels are included.
Newsreels too. Interesting.
Yeah. And a remarkable case is the meticulous reconstruction of Marian Anderson's 1939 concert footage.
Yeah.
It was painstakingly pieced together to showcase this pivotal moment in the civil rights movement, offering insights far beyond its initial fragmented release. That's historical preservation in action.
Wow. And the last one, aesthetic significance. This is about the art.
Precisely. This category celebrates artistic achievement, innovation, or distinctive style films that truly advanced cinematic techniques. Think Citizen Kane for its revolutionary deep focus and narrative structure.
A classic example.
Or Star Wars for its groundbreaking special effects that just redefined sci-fi cinema. Or The Wizard of Oz for its iconic, dazzling use of Technicolor. These films profoundly changed how films were made or viewed. They pushed the art form forward.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, you mentioned animation earlier. Let's explore how animation and maybe short films have fared on the NFR. What do those selections reveal about the registry's priorities? It seems like a fascinating window into what's considered culturally impactful beyond just big features.
Indeed, it's quite revealing. As of 2022, there were 51 animated productions. That's a mix of features, shorts, and even hybrids inducted. That makes up about 6% of the total collection, which, sounds pretty good, but the distribution's interesting.
6%. Okay, so how does that break down? Let's maybe unpack this by studio, starting with, well, the giant.
Yeah,
Disney.
right. Disney's foundational works are very well represented, as you'd expect. Films like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That was actually one of the first 25 films ever inducted. And it's alongside other Golden Age classics like Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, and Bambi. These demonstrate Disney's enduring legacy in shaping animation as, an art form and a cultural force.
So the early masterpieces are definitely there.
Yes. And their later triumphs, too, like Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty and several of the Renaissance-era films, are also recognized not just for fame, but for their critical and financial impact. And interestingly, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is celebrated for bringing animation back into the mainstream in such a spectacular way.
Roger Rabbit, yeah, that makes sense. What about Pixar? They've had a huge impact.
Surprisingly few, actually only two as of that 2022 count, Toy Story and Wall-E.
Only two? Really?
Yeah. Toy Story is highlighted as a rare case of an animated feature inducted within that 10-year minimum. Its inclusion wasn't just about popularity. It was the first computer-animated feature film ever released, and its immediate massive impact on the industry was just undeniable.
A true game changer.
Absolutely. And Wall-E joined later, recognized not just for its artistic merit, but for its, surprisingly prescient social commentary and predictions about humanity's future, the axiom, and all that.
And DreamWorks.
Only Shrek, specifically for its immense influence on pop culture and that burgeoning internet culture of the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And it's worth noting the NFR rarely inducts sequels, so Shrek 2, despite its popularity, is probably unlikely.
Okay, interesting. What about short films? You said that's where the definition of cultural significance really expands.
Absolutely. It only becomes clearer there. There are 37 short subjects in the registry, many of which you might not hear about every day, but their impact is undeniable.
Like what kind of shorts?
Well, they include thought-provoking pieces like Why Man Creates, which is a documentary short from 1968, or the pioneering A Computer-Animated Hand. Really early digital stuff. Early animation itself is well represented by Winsor McKay's groundbreaking works like Little Nemo and Gertie the Dinosaur, truly revolutionary for their time.
Gertie the Dinosaur, I know that one.
Yeah. And of course, iconic shorts like Steamboat Willie, marking Mickey Mouse's first public appearance. Plus classic Betty Boop and Popeye cartoons. Even Three Little Pigs is inducted for its lasting cultural footprint. And interestingly, they preserved the original version, which caused some debate later about historical context versus modern sensibilities when it was edited.
Right, the offensive disguise part. That's a whole debate in itself about preservation.
Exactly. Preserving the original, warts and all, for historical context. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for animation fans. Looney Tunes.
Okay.
This American comedy institution, thousands of original cartoons, has only 4 inductees.
Only 4 Looney Tunes? You're kidding. Which ones?
Porky and Wackyland, Duck-a-Muck, One Froggy Evening, and What's Opera Doc.
Wow. Those are masterpieces, sure, but only 4. That seems low.
It is surprising to many. It leaves people wondering about the absence of other beloved classics. Where's the Roadrunner? Or Felix the Cat, who's basically Mickey before Mickey? Or Tom and Jerry. It just underscores that NFR inclusion isn't solely about widespread recognition or nostalgia. It's about specific, demonstrable significance within their criteria.
That really highlights the nuanced balance the registry seeks, doesn't it? Between fame and impact, popularity and significance.
Precisely. Assessing genuine value and lasting influence, not just picking popular favorites.
The source also mentioned a sort of Christmas wish list for a future animated film.
Yes. Some hopefuls mentioned were things like Disney's Alice in Wonderland, Aladdin, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Pixar's Finding Nemo Up, and The Incredibles. But again, it reinforces the point. It's about cultural value, historical or aesthetic merit, not just a chance for us to pick our personal favorites.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about what is preserved. Let's shift now to the crucial question of how these cinematic treasures are safeguarded. What do archivists and preservationists actually do? It sounds like painstaking work.
It really is. And there's a critical distinction to make between preservation and restoration. Preservation is fundamentally about securing a film's long-term physical survival. It often means moving it to a more stable format. Modern polyester film, for instance, when stored in meticulously controlled cold and dry environments, can last an incredible 500 to 700 years, maybe even longer. That's called passive storage.
500
Yeah,
years.
it's about ensuring its existence into the distant future. Restoration, on the other hand, that's usually a much larger, more intensive project. It's about bringing a film back as close as possible to its opening day quality. This process is often like archaeology, as one source put it, meticulously digging through vaults to locate original negatives or the finest surviving prints, then painstakingly reassembling them.
And they use digital tools now, right?
Oh, absolutely. Digital tools are indispensable. Films are scanned into high-resolution digital files, and that allows preservationists to virtually clean up the image. They can meticulously remove dirt, scratches, splice marks, literally erasing defects with digital paintbrushes, frame by frame sometimes, to make the picture look as pristine as it did when it first premiered.
That sounds like a delicate balance, though. When you're digitally cleaning up a film, how do you avoid, crossing the line? Are you actually changing it? How do you ensure you're enhancing clarity without altering the director's original artistic vision?
That's a huge ethical consideration, and the intent always is not to change it, but make it as good as the director intended it to be. It's about removing the damage of time, not reinterpreting the art itself. A perfect example mentioned was All Quiet on the Western Front. A dedicated staff member spent practically his entire career finding missing pieces of the film that had been cut out over the years.
Wow, his whole career.
Yeah. He was able to painstakingly restore it to its original version, including its incredibly powerful silent ending, which would otherwise have just been lost. The goal is always to honor the original vision, to peel back the layers of decay, not to repaint the picture.
It's fascinating how much care goes into that. Yet we face this modern paradox with digital archiving, don't we? We think of digital as permanent, but the sources say it's in some ways even more fragile than physical film.
That's right.
Hard drives fail, DVDs, CDs degrade. And more fundamentally, there's this huge challenge of format obsolescence. One source highlighted that in just 20 years, we've cycled through something like 30 different digital formats.
It's incredible. The industry seems to create new formats every 18 months that are incompatible with the previous ones.
So you constantly have to migrate the data.
Exactly. Digital content requires constant active migration to new carriers. It's a perpetual process that's incredibly resource-intensive, unlike film just sitting stably in cold storage. There was this prevailing belief, maybe 10, 15 years ago, that digital copies would last forever. But that's simply not the case. In a counterintuitive way, digital is part of the problem now, not inherently the solution for truly long-term preservation.
So film is still the best bet for the long haul.
For ultimate longevity and stability, yes. Film itself, specifically modern polyester film, still remains the gold standard for long-term archiving.
So after all this, let's bring it back to the listener. What does this all mean for you? Why should you care about these painstaking efforts and the work of the National Film Registry?
Well, because these preserved films are far more than just entertainment, right?
Sure.
They are, as one source put it, trusted records of how people felt, worked, and dreamed. They offer these invaluable windows into American movie history. They allow us to understand the past with greater depth, helping us see both progress and unfinished work in our society. They offer unique perspectives on universal themes: love, identity, social change. They are truly indispensable educational tools. And beyond that, these iconic American films inspire future storytellers. Think about it. They model bold choices in writing, performance, visual style. They directly influence filmmakers from Steven Spielberg onward, shaping the future of cinema.
And there's just the joy of watching them, too.
Absolutely. There's the communal aspect. That pure joy of experiencing a film in a theater, laughing or crying together. I vividly remember seeing Casablanca in a packed theater when I was a teenager. That shared, visceral connection to the story, it just blew me away. It's an experience that transcends time.
And that's precisely what the NFR helps us ensure, right? That these voices, these stories, remain available for learning and reflection, not locked away in damaged prints or, worse, forgotten digital files that nobody can access anymore. It's a powerful reminder that film, in all its many forms, truly is the language of our time. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we've really traversed the vastness and, I guess, the surprising fragility of our cinematic heritage. We've seen why the loss of so many films from our past is, well, it's like losing ancient artifacts, and how dedicated archivists and institutions like the National Film Registry are working tirelessly to safeguard what remains.
Which really brings us to a compelling question for all of us to think about.
Yeah.
What does it mean for our culture if we lose significant portions of its artistic and historical record? And maybe, as we look to the future with new films constantly being made, what criteria beyond just that 10-year rule might we use to decide which narratives absolutely must survive for future generations? What will they value looking back at us?
Absolutely. That's a great thought to end on. And if learning about the National Film Registry gets you thinking about which films you would want preserved in their original form forever, well, then it's certainly doing its job. What film would you nominate to the National Film Registry to ensure its place in history? Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive.